Initially, I had no intentions of making this video, but when I went online and saw more negative reaction to this movie and just more negative criticism of this movie than I was expecting, I felt the need to come on here and say that Heart of Stone actually isn't that bad. And here's why. The whole basis of the negative criticism that people are going with about this movie is that it's not as good as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which it is, admittedly, at least, very similar to. And honestly, I kind of expected that going in because pretty much the flagship thing that they were using to promote this film was that it was by some of the producers slash executive producers of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It is very similar in story and in like characters and stuff like that, but I would actually go as far as to say that this movie does some things better than Dead Reckoning Part 1. The characters, although thinly written, are well acted. The cinematography in this thing is beautiful, just like Mission Impossible series. They go to multiple locations and have fight scenes and stuff like that, and it is all beautifully well shot. The special effects in this movie are better than I was expecting. All right, it is actually like really good, except for like one scene, and if you watch the movie you're gonna know exactly what scene that is. But everything, the special effects, all the CGI and stuff like that, even the practical effects and all that stuff, were all really well done. I really enjoyed the fight scenes in this movie more than I was expecting. Well, I mean, out of all things, that is like the one thing that they were bound to get right, but they did get it right, thankfully. Going into Heart of Stone, I was expecting a decent at best streaming action movie, and I left pleasantly surprised to find that this was actually better than that. This is legitimately a pretty good movie in my opinion. All right, I'm pretty sure that you have not seen my video talking about how much of a huge disappointment Dead Reckoning Part 1 was to me, but this movie to me actually improves upon some of the aspects of that film. And I'm sure that it has something to do with the production, but at the end of the day, all I can do is judge the final product, and the final product felt off. Like it was there, but it wasn't like completely there. It just felt weirdly like off center, off kilter for some reason. But in Dead Reckoning Part 1, despite how thinly written the characters are, the actors make them work. Gal Gadot is the weakest actress, and in my opinion, she's not the weakest part, but she's the weakest actor in the film. She's not a good actor as much, as sweet and as nice as she comes off in interviews and stuff, and as likable as she is for that same reason. She is not a good actress. But in this film, she's not bad either. She's passable enough, and that's good enough for what the film is going for. All right, so basically, to bring it all back around, I was expecting a decent action movie, and I got a pretty good action movie. It usurped it. It went above and beyond my expectations, and it actually does some things like I said before. It actually does some things better than Dead Reckoning Part 1 because it is very similar to it, so we can compare the two. In Dead Reckoning Part 1, one of my biggest complaints was that they didn't do a good job of making the AI seem as threatening and as much of a world threat as they could have. The biggest thing that it does after that opening scene is like change faces on a camera and hide people from a camera. Like really, like that didn't sit well with me. Like it needed to do something bigger. All right, that's my basic thing, and that bothered me, and it just was another thing to add to the disappointment of the film overall. Now in Heart of Stone, with its AI, of course, well, I mean, not of course, it doesn't control itself like the one in Dead Reckoning Part 1, but when people do get their hands on it, they do use it effectively. You know, when the bad guys get their hands on the device, the first thing he does is take out some very important people. He drops some elevators, blows up some power plants, blows up, like traps people inside of a building and cuts off their oxygen. You know, like these are all world threatening and, you know, like scary things to think about in our modern society, where more and more things are being run by computers, and even computers that, you know, like once you turn them on, they move by themselves and they do whatever it is that they're programmed to do, right? So that is a very, you know, like conscious, like modern society thing that people can be afraid of, right? And it works really, really well, I think, in Heart of Stone as compared to Dead Reckoning Part 1. It actually does that really better. And actually, another thing that I would give Heart of Stone above Dead Reckoning Part 1, since that is what a lot of people are comparing it to, is with its characters. I actually feel more for the main characters, or at least most of the main characters in Heart of Stone, than in Dead Reckoning Part 1, because just like I said before, it just felt off in Dead Reckoning Part 1. Characters that we've been seeing for years now do things together and, you know, basically become like this small family together. Their chemistry fell off, and it affected me feeling for the characters. All right, Rebecca Ferguson's character's death should have been a really huge big deal. The way how the characters are like being used and characterized throughout the film, it just felt off, and it just was not as impactful as it should have been. Their chemistry just felt off, and that just affected how I felt about the characters, unfortunately. But in Heart of Stone, when characters die, you know, characters that we see interact and basically, just like in Mission Impossible, become a small family, when I see those characters die, I felt something. Just the way how it was quickly taken out, quickly done, I felt something, because these characters were together for years. And, you know, it just the way how the film did it, it was really well done. In my opinion, better than Dead Reckoning Part 1. And also something that I just thought of, again, that Heart of Stone does better than Dead Reckoning Part 1 is its pacing. Something that, you know, led, you know, to more of my dislike for Dead Reckoning Part 1 was the pacing. I felt as if at least a half hour of the film could have been cut out to help the pacing of the film. And in Dead Reckoning, there is not that problem, because the movie is barely 2 hours long, and it uses up that runtime really, really well. It is a very fast-paced film. It goes from, you know, action scene to dramatic scene to technical scene, and just it has a really nice flow to it that I really appreciated throughout the film. And it doesn't have 1 second, I feel, of bloat as compared to Dead Reckoning Part 1. So yeah, basically, to bring everything to a close here, Heart of Stone, like I said in the beginning, is not that bad. It's actually a pretty good film. I went in expecting a decent action spy thriller, and I left with a pretty good action spy thriller. Is it as good as Dead Reckoning Part 1 overall? Honestly, you know, now that I think about it, I would actually put it neck and neck. All right, I know that sounds absolutely insane. Pretty, like, I mean, absolutely insane to think that Heart of Stone is as good as a Mission Impossible film, which it is being compared negatively to. But in my opinion, all right, after watching both films, honestly, I would put them neck and neck. Okay, I think Heart of Stone is just as good as Dead Reckoning Part 1, and honestly, on a given day, you know, not today, but on a given day, who knows? I might actually think that it's better than Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's just how big of a disappointment I felt seeing that film feel so weirdly off, and just how surprised of how good Dead Reckoning Part 1 was, alright? Because, like I said, decent acting throughout, great action set pieces, it has some good character arcs inside of it. It's got some great special effects throughout the entire film, and it's nicely fast-paced, alright? It's got great action scenes. It's everything that you want, alright? You're going to watch a Netflix action movie, alright? There's a reason why it's not in theaters, alright? There's a reason why it's on the streaming platform, and it shows you why it's not in theaters and all that, right? But it still delivers above and beyond. While Dead Reckoning Part 1 did not deliver good enough. It was overall a good film. I don't think that it's bad, but it was still a huge disappointment to me. And Heart of Stone, honestly, I don't think deserves all the negative criticism that I think people are giving it, because for a streaming platform film, it is well done. The heart of it is there, the action is there, the special effects are there, the fast pacing is there, the beautiful cinematography and like action set pieces are there. Everything that you would want out of a decent action, scratch decent, all right? Everything that you would want out of a good action film is present in Heart of Stone, all right? Is it a great film? No, but if you're at home looking for an action movie to watch, trust me when I say that you could do a whole lot worse than Heart of Stone. I'd actually recommend it, okay? It is a good movie. It is a pretty good action movie. It delivered on what it was trying to do. It delivers above and beyond on what it was trying to do. And it actually, in my opinion, on the three things that I listed just now, actually did some things better than Dead Reckoning Part 1. So yes, it is basically a Dead Reckoning Part 1 ripoff, but it's a damn good one. Alright, honestly, I put both of them neck and neck. So yeah, that is why I think Heart of Stone actually isn't that bad, and I would actually recommend that you give it a try if you have not yet. So yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload next. This has been Fraser, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.